Hello, everyone, and welcome to another soft spoken ASMR video. Today, we will be taking a look at the second book in this series of the Around the World program of the American Geographical Society. And today we will take a look at France. So I'll just put these out of the way. And we will get started with our France guide. Now for this book, some of the pictures are already inside, which is kind of exciting. So it's a little bit different than the Japan one that I did last time. And we'll just take a look. So a little castle with very French style architecture. And then one of the most iconic French landmarks, although possibly more of a Paris landmark, because as many French people will tell you, Paris is not the rest of France. For example, southern France has just a totally different culture, similar to that border with Spain. And then here we have another picture inputted. Very crinkly pages. And there's the famous Cathedral of Notre Dame before the tragic fire. Over here we have a sidewalk cafe, and again, these are some of the images that I picture when I picture France. The coffee, sipping a cup of coffee while chatting with friends on the street. Very French or European idea. And of course we have the French flag. And over here, some Roman ruins. So then this is just a black and white picture, but that beautiful coastline. This is the Abbey of Mont Saint Michel. Another picture of the Cathedral of Notre Dame. Oh, is this different? I'm trying to remember. Okay, it's the same. So just another image of the Cathedral of Notre Dame over here. And here we have another image. Love the sound of these pages. Over here we have Joan of Arc. So even back in the 50s and 60s when this guidebook was made, this is who they were talking about. And then just some more classic French style pictures. Talks about the world's most famous palace, the Palace of Versailles. And what an old photograph. Let me see if I can get closer. An old photograph of this palace. Quite beautiful. Dancing in the streets on July 14th, the Revolution. Over here there's a small farm and a windmill. It talks a bit about good food and wine over here. And then champagne. Another small picture, but I'm doing my best. And then we have, there's no place like the French Riviera. That looks absolutely beautiful. I would love to visit one day, and I think I would choose this area. Another image. And then the Alps are pictured as well. Now, France is just one of the countries that is located in the Alps. There's also the Swiss Alps, and a few other countries intersect there. But it's a part of the culture nonetheless. And then this is an old harbor. I don't want to butcher the name. It's something like Marseille. I don't quite remember how to pronounce this city. Some black and white images of a craftsman over here. All right, and then we have a procession, the Brenton procession at La Cronan. And talks about Normandy here because like I mentioned in the last video, this was the source of information for travelers back in the day. There wasn't internet in the 50s and 60s, so you'd have to read up on your travel destination. Oh my gosh, beautiful Arc de Triomphe. And I found that many cities have one of these located inside of them, but that Paris is maybe the most famous out of all of them. Okay. And then here's a picture from Strasbourg, German-French border area. Okay. The Louvre Museum. Very big museum. Impossible to see it all in one day, as they say. how it's the City of Lights. And then Luxembourg Gardens. Looks like a beautiful spot to hang out. It's kind of small. I can't really see the fashion, but I'm sure it's very different from what we would wear now. And then there's browsing through bookstores in Paris. I would love to do this. I love exploring bookshops, any kind of bookstores. This one looks a bit outdoors, almost like a promenade of bookstores, which is so interesting. And then here's pretty much the last page, and it talks about a place du theater and sacred core. I don't quite know how to say that. And then useful information about France, just like I said. It tells you about your travel documents, currency, import quotas and duties, and some important dates in French history, as this was really what everyone was using for travel, was a travel guide of some sort to get all the information before their big trip. And it goes through some French phrases. I need to take a look. I speak some Spanish, and so anytime that I speak French, it just comes out as Spanish, I've noticed. So I need to put a bit more effort into my pronunciation. And then here we have an about the author. And it looks like she lived in Europe for 14 years, traveling in France, Switzerland, England, and Italy. So that gives some information about the perspective of this book. It was not a local, but it was someone who had lived in Europe for quite some time. And here's the back cover. So beautiful. I just love the artwork on all of these guides. And actually, I think it still has the Goodwill stamp. I must have gotten it for $2 or something, because I don't think this is from way back in the day. But it's just so beautiful. Thank you so much for listening to my read through and commentary on this France guide. I do have 2 more guides to do from this thrifting haul, and I'm excited to show them to you and explore them together. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great night.